Well, we're here with our friend from Wisconsin, Senator Ron Johnson. Senator Johnson, before we jump into some of these national issues, you have a Supreme Court now in Wisconsin that is trying to destroy the Republican majority in your state legislature, that is going to screw up the congressional seats and so forth. This last Supreme Court justice who was elected as a hardcore left-wing radical. This is going on all over the country, isn't it?
It is, and that's how the left wing gets their policy preferences. They can't win in legislatures in general, so the only way they can do it is through activist judges, and they're very good at doing it. They spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort on local races, school board races, these Supreme Court races, and it's very difficult to compete with them.
But it happens in the Republican Senate, too. We've got all these Biden judges being confirmed. Even you got this one out of the closet anti-Semite. He gets through the Judiciary Committee, they're going to go to the floor. Maybe somebody will fight it. Maybe some. Does not Mitch McConnell try to organize the Republicans to block all these guys from getting on the court?
Well, right now, when Harry Reid, he was the guy who did the nuclear option. And he did it on judges to get to stack the D.C. Circuit Court. It only takes a majority to. There's no filibuster with a really bad judge. You can't filibuster him. So the majority can confirm these justices, and that's what's happening right now.
Man, that is frightening. All right, while we have you, I want to talk about a couple of issues. Let's start with the border. Why in the hell would McConnell and the Republican leadership put the entire Republican Party, conservative movement, Donald Trump, and just anybody who believes in securing the border, why would he put us in a position where the Democrats can use his completely screwed up piece of legislation against us?
That's the $64,000 question mark. It's what so many of us are upset about. It's why so many of us are speaking out against what an awful leader he is. I was one of the leaders of the effort that started this Congress. Rick Scott decided to challenge McConnell for leader. Unfortunately, we only got 10 votes. And one thing that McConnell does all the time, and literally over the last 2 weeks, he's brought this up twice, is how many hundreds of millions of dollars he raises through his Senate Leadership Fund. And just a little gentle reminder that you probably want to stay in my good graces here. That probably impacts some people. As you can tell, it doesn't have the slightest impact on me.
Did he give you much money when you were running?
In 2016, he completely abandoned me this last go-around because he wanted the majority. It's not because he likes me. Not that he wants to see me win my race, but they threw quite a bit of money in it. Again, of course, then he takes credit for winning the race. There's so much money spent here. Who knows what's determinative? There's so many factors in these races. I think campaign finance is a mess. It's grotesque how much money is just wasted in these campaigns, but that's a different discussion. But to get back to the disaster, the debacle that McConnell engineered, he's the mastermind. He reluctantly came to the table and they understand that if he wants Ukraine funding, we probably ought to secure or at least pretend we want to secure America's border first. And so, he led the effort to defeat cloture on the first supplemental vote. But then he entered secret negotiations. Now, look, how stupid is that? The American public, there's not been an issue, Mark. Since I've been here for 13 years, there's not been an issue where the American public is more in support of the Republican position than on the border. So what you want to do is you want to hold that debate in public. And by the way, nobody was asking for a immigration bill. All we were asking for is recognition that Joe Biden is a lawless president. He ignores Supreme Court decisions. You can't trust this guy to abide by any agreement he reaches with you. So all we were asking for is we need an enforcement mechanism. And what I suggest is let's tie Ukraine aid to border metrics. Make it contingent on it. You do this in business all the time, performance measures. And you have to see a dramatic decrease in securing our border over a 12-month period because Trump did it. And that's another point to make. Trump secured the border under existing law. Now, he had resistance. There have been some court decisions that have undermined presidential authority, but he still secured the border under existing law. Joe Biden used the same existing authority to open it up. So he has the authority to secure the border. We're happy to help overturn some of these court decisions that weaken the authority, but he could do it. He just chooses not to. So all we were looking for is just an enforcement mechanism. McConnell, and by the way, Senator Murphy basically told the truth here. He said McConnell, his staff was in the room. He wrote the bill. So this is
all right. Hold on.
The mastermind of this.
I want the American people to understand this. So McConnell's staff wrote the bill, which is probably why Schumer has been slobbering praise over him for weeks. No.
Yeah, I mean they've never gotten along better in the Senate. They are one in terms of what their goals are, and the goal was not to secure the border. And what McConnell has done, I don't think any Senate leader has ever given their opponents the kind of political cover that McConnell gave to Democrats with this awful monstrosity, this Rube Goldberg immigration bill that gave them that cover.
You know, Senator Johnson, I think he hates the conservative base more than he has contempt for the left. He's never been a conservative. He was a Ford guy over Reagan. He's never been a Trump guy. He backs a lot of, I'm not trying to pick on some of your colleagues, but he backs a lot of people who don't have a backbone but will vote for him, majority leader. We're here with our friend Ron Johnson, Senator Wisconsin. Senator Johnson, in all my years in watching this stuff, maybe I'm missing something. Has Mitch McConnell put forward a bill that would begin to cut the massive debt and yearly deficits that are devouring our economy, devouring our military? Has he put something forward, and if so, can I see it?
No, what I've heard he's told people is that show me one member of Congress who ever lost re-election because they spent too much money. When he took over leadership, I think it's 2007, our debt was below $10 trillion. Now it's approaching $35 trillion. And all that time, Mark, there's been one constant throughout all those years. There's been one person at the table for every debt ceiling negotiation, every appropriation negotiation, every negotiation. That's Mitch McConnell. He's happy trying to buy his way into the majority. I mean, last year during the debate over, the omnibus spending bill, it's our Republican position to be against earmarks because it's the gateway drug. We abandoned that. There were 700 some pages of earmarks, and there are definitely Republicans at the trough there as well. So no, he's no fiscal conservative whatsoever. And again, the debacle at the border. I mean, this has to be the top priority for America right now. It's a clear and present danger. The American people expect us to secure this border. This is what Republican leadership should be all about, is forcing this. And he just blew it off. I mean, the bill he negotiated, Mark, he ended up the next day voting against. I mean, think of that. Within a day or two, he's recommending to the conference to vote against the very bill he negotiated and that he and his staff wrote.
So they write a bill. They put the Republican Party's neck on the line. Then they pull the bill back. So even some of your fellow senators who supported that are left in the lurch. You got this guy from Louisiana, I can't remember his name, who negotiates to say he's hanging out there and he's still defending what he did. Does he realize his career's on the line now because of his stupidity? My words, not yours.
Yeah. No, again, it's just jaw-droppingly stupid what happened here. Now, what I'm hoping is that the House is going to demand, if we do anything for Ukraine, and again, there's a broad spectrum, and I think there's a lot of different opinions in terms of exactly what we should be doing for Ukraine. But if we're going to do anything for Ukraine, first and foremost, we have to secure our own borders. So hopefully the House will keep that leverage in place, and we can come back and revisit this. But again, we had leverage. And it was completely blown by Mitch McConnell.
I don't even get this. In other words, we have to fight like hell to get a secure border. I mean, isn't that crazy that the Democrat Party is invested in what's going on the border, the slavery, sex slavery? It's slavery that's taking place, the fentanyl, the crime, the drug cartels and all. And here, you want money for Ukraine? We've got to secure the border. We've got to secure like we're begging them to do what they're supposed to do. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. Again, they want votes, and unfortunately they have the mainstream media in their back pocket. So let's face it, the border crisis, and it's been a catastrophe for all 3 years. Over 7,000 people per day on average during the Biden administration but the mainstream media primarily ignored it until Mayor Adams in New York, Mayor Johnson in Chicago started screaming about their beloved sanctuary cities just couldn't handle a fraction of the 6 million people who's going to destroy their city. So then the news media had to start covering it. It became a political liability. So the real blunder of McConnell was secret negotiations with people. They weren't looking to secure the border. They were just looking for political cover, and McConnell gave it to them.
Mm-hmm. And he gets his support from the Wall Street Journal editorial page, which has always been for open borders. And they attack you guys, and they say you guys, being the vast majority of the Republicans and the conservatives and the public, basically is saying this is going to backfire on you. All superficial, all fed to them basically by McConnell. He has that editorial page in his back pocket. That's got to annoy the hell out of you.
Yeah, that is pretty disappointing. But who we have in support of us are good, patriotic Americans who, God-fearing, country-loving, law enforcement supporting. These are the people that want a safe neighborhood, that understand that the Biden open border is facilitating the multi-billion-dollar business model of some of the most evil people on the planet, the drug, the human, the sex traffickers. There's nothing humane about that. That's Biden's complaint. Oh, Trump's closed border was inhumane. No, the open border is inhumane. That's just the reality of it. Republican supporters understand that. McConnell, unfortunately, the Wall Street Journal doesn't.
The other thing is this: when I hear him speak, even before he had his illness and so forth, he can't be out there talking to the American people on behalf of the GOP or the conservative movement. He has, and I'm not trying to pile on. I've said this myself. He's got no communication skills. He's got no career. He's an inside guy. That's why he raises all the money to try and get people elected who are going to vote for him to be the leader. He's the longest leader of either party in American history, who's done so many terrible things, even by his inaction. And so he is Washington personified. So my question to you is this. Even one day when he steps aside or goes or however the hell it works, isn't the problem is you got a lot of similarly minded Republicans, waiting in line to take that slot?
That is an issue. It's definitely a problem, but that's our federal system, isn't it? Each state selects their representatives, their senators. They send them to Washington. What always baffles me is some of the most conservative states send some of the people that you kind of got to scratch your head and go,
no, but here's what baffles me. You got these guys in some of these most conservative states who run as conservatives, then they go to Washington, and they'll vote for leadership that basically runs the place. For instance, most of you were not brought in on this bill, this border bill. Most of you are sitting there waiting. Certain people are leaking talking points out there. You're an elected member of the United States Senate representing the people of Wisconsin, and you can't even see the damn bill for weeks. Isn't that correct?
That is true. But, Mark, every lunch we were talking about the fact that you can't trust Joe Biden, so we need a forcing mechanism. There was a great deal of support for what I was proposing is making Ukraine funding contingent on actually meeting these threshold metrics. And McConnell, without telling anybody, having heard this in conference, day after day after day, told Langford that's not on the table. And Sinema confirmed that. Yeah, James never asked for that. So again, again, McConnell was the mastermind. He's the guy that basically wrote the bill. He's the one that dropped this on the American public. And then when the bill sank itself, he turned tail and ran from it and voted against it.
Bizarre.
Again, you can't make this stuff up.
Well, Senator Johnson, I want to thank you. Keep up the fight. There are millions of people who agree with you and back you and the others who are doing the very best they can in a very difficult chamber of the House, of the Congress. Thank you, sir. Be well.
God bless you. Take care.
And God bless you. Good man. Good man. I really like Ron Johnson. I mean, he runs for re-election and wins at a very tough state. Everybody counts him out, but he manages to pull it off. And I think it's because you can hear he sounds like a regular guy because he is. He's a self-made man. He is. Comes to Washington and he sees all this crap and he calls it out. So they try and chop him at the legs, but he's fought his way through.